Hi everybody, this is Jim Miller from The Gray Curtain, and while we're in the studio, I don't have a lot of chance to connect with a lot of the fans, and I miss you all. So I bought a new Sony MDR-HV1 little camcorder here with a nice wide-angle lens, so I could start showing you around some of my gear. And you can know some of the secrets behind the sound of the Gray Curtain. So this is the Alesis Ion. This is actually one of my favorite weapons in our arsenal. It is a virtual analog synthesizer. So what that means is that instead of like my other keyboard, the Korg Triton, which plays back audio, this is actually generating sound through oscillators, much like the early synthesizers. But this is actually digital. It predates the sort of analog craze that we're currently in. It was only made for a couple of years. Not a lot of artists have it or use it, and yet I think this is a completely underrated synth. It's really incredible. The Micron, which uses the same brain as this, was actually used by Nine Inch Nails and a lot of other bands, although I bought this before I knew that. So it's really cool synth, and I encourage people to buy it. This keyboard has a lot of sounds you might recognize. All of the sounds that I use for the Gray Curtain are either edits of presets or voices that I've created on my own. So you'll recognize this one a lot. Although live, I actually split this signal, and one signal goes clean to my digital mixer, and the other one goes out to distortion, actually, to a line 6 pod. But here you're just hearing it clean with just a little bit of reverb and compression so that it's not awful. So you hear that sound a lot. That's a little lick from Great Death. You might recognize it. This keyboard also has a really unique ability to, it has 4 patches that you can enable at any time. So what's great about that is that it's very easy to switch voices on the fly. And you can also easily layer voices. What's also great is that I use another trick, is that on one of our songs, the opening, I set both this octave and this octave to the same patch. So 2 different voices, but they're both set to the same voice. So if you hear... but what that allows me to do is play very, very quickly, like a keyboardist would, or like a guitarist would play. So that's a pretty unique feature to this keyboard. Something that would be very hard to recreate in a real analog synth. So what's great is that in our little off season, I'm actually going through all of the voices of this entire synthesizer and either modifying them to make sure that they are sort of my own, that they fit my own style, or actually just completely erasing them and starting from scratch. So let me show you. What's great is that you can go into the store feature here. And this is where you would normally store changes to your voice, but you can actually scroll all the way to the end and reset the program. And after a second, so the voice has been completely reset. So actually, all you are hearing is one oscillator. The oscillator is kind of like the noisemaker. So you're just hearing a simple sine wave. The filters, all the effects units, they're sort of all bypassed. And from here, you can start to build your sound. So the first thing is you can shape the wave. And you can also choose waves. You have a sine wave, which we just heard, a triangle saw, and a pulse wave. And what's great is you actually don't have to choose. So we can start with the triangle wave. And then what we'll do is we'll edit up oscillator 2 a little bit. We'll detune it, which will make it a thicker sound. And then we can go over here to our pre-filter mix. So you can hear now it's got a much thicker sound because it's got 2 oscillators. And you can actually drop one of those oscillators an octave. So let's drop the oscillator 2 an octave. So that's a nice thick sound. Then we could go into oscillator 3, and maybe we will pitch that up just a little bit, and let's put it up an octave. So from there you can build a really nice thick sound. You can also add in noise. And then from there, once you've sort of picked your oscillators, you could go into the filters. So the filters give the sound a lot of character. You have 2 filters to choose from. Actually, by default, each oscillator can send to either filter 1 or filter 2 or a mix of the 2. By default, it's a mix, and you can also send filter 1 into filter 2, and then you can actually pick which filters you hear on the back end. So this gives you a lot of capability. Again, a lot of this you wouldn't have with a fully analog synth. So right now everything's going through both filters, but we're just listening to filter 1. The preset is or the default rather, I guess, is like a Moog low pass filter. So this is the cutoff frequency, and you'll hear everything below the cutoff frequency comes through. So as you turn it down, it gets very dark. But you can also add resonance, which gives it a little bit of boost right at the cutoff frequency. So let's hear that. So that's pretty cool. Now you can also add in the second filter. So let's bring up the second filter level. And let's choose one of the other you have lots of filter options, but I really like these comb filters, which are kind of unique to this keyboard. So I could go into further detail about some of the other synthesis features, but instead I'm actually going to show you some of the brand new voices I've created with this synth. What's great is I showed you earlier how we use the patch recalls, but you can actually save those, which is really a great feature. So this is a patch recall I just made. It's called Soundquake, and this first voice is called Jim's Bark. That's pretty fat, pretty nice sound, and you know, I made that from scratch. So the second one, I've been listening to a keyboardist, a very famous keyboardist named Adam Holzman, and Holzman is known for playing for a lot of artists, but his father actually founded Elektra Records, and he's been touring with my favorite songwriter alive, I think, a guy by the name of Steven Wilson. Steven Wilson of Porcupine Tree fame, perhaps my favorite band. And so I was trying to recreate one of his leads. This isn't quite Adam Holzman. It's Holz Jim. Okay. So that's a pretty nice sound. But you know, those are both kind of more traditional leads, and that's certainly not all I'm creating. This is called Storm Stories, and it's got almost like I don't know, like a pipe organ in a haunted lighthouse in a storm, in a hurricane sound to it, I think. So it's kind of a neat voice, and I'll show you more in a minute. But first I wanted to show you this. This is called Windy, and there's a few different voices on the synth that sound like wind. And what's impressive about that is, again, remember, it's not like there's a recording of wind that's being played back. That would be somewhat easy to do. This is wind that's just created through either the oscillators or the noise. In this case, the oscillators are actually off, and it's just noise. So it's noise that's running through the filter. And as the filter sweeps up and down, the filter is being swept by the low-frequency oscillator, and you hear that sort of whooshing sound. Now, the other impressive thing about the synth is that you have a mod matrix. And what a mod matrix allows you to do is it allows you to change the voice sort of on the fly. And so what I've set this voice to do is that when I raise mod wheel 2 here, it increases the pre-filter mixes of all of the oscillators, which are off. And it also adds the master pre-filter mix, and it makes some changes in the filter and the LFO. So what happens is that out of this storm, you get a voice that comes in, and you know, that voice sort of gets increasingly aggressive and electronic as it fades in. So what's great here is that then we can use the patch enable feature and bring in more voices. And as you'll see, you know, if you right now we have no voices selected, right? So nothing's on. So I press note, nothing happens. And even when I turn a voice on, nothing happens. I have to resound a note in order to get a voice. So what this actually enables us to do is sort of turn on and off patches and build a sound and change that sound as we go along. So we'll start with the wind. I'll raise mod wheel 2, that'll bring in the oscillators, then I'll fire on that Storm Stories patch, and we'll play some new notes, and then I will basically turn off the wind. So, again, I could go through, how to create all these voices. And what's great is that I'm actually not done creating all these voices because there's so much you can do with the mod matrix to really give the sound a life of its own. But these are some of the ways that I think when I build up voices. And these are some of the brand new voices that are coming to hopefully a brand new Grey Curtain song near you. So stay tuned to the Grey Curtain. We're in the studio right now, and the stuff we're creating, I think, is fabulous. So really looking forward to releasing that, and we will see you on tour in the spring. Thanks a lot.